Today, we are going to talk about how to brainwash yourself to create the life you want. Listen in. Hello, how are you doing today? All right. So I know brainwashing yourself sounds a little strong, but here is what I want you to understand about your brain. It is a supercomputer, and every thought that you think has an impact on your life. Big, small, truth, lie, doesn't matter. Our brain literally does not know the difference between the truth and a lie. Here's how you can know this to be true for yourself. I want you to imagine a juicy lemon in front of you with a knife, and you just slice through the lemon and you see all of the lemon juice oozing from this lemon. You can smell the scent of it. If you are imagining this, then you likely can tell that your saliva, your glands in your mouth are beginning to produce saliva. And that is because your brain does not know the difference between fiction and reality. You can imagine something to be true, and it becomes truth in how your body and your brain processes that information. So when we tell ourselves things that are seemingly innocuous or even seeming truths in our lives, we have to be very careful. We want to have awareness about this because it could have a big impact on the results that we're creating in our life, in our business, in our relationships. And I saw this for myself, and I see it with my clients over and over again. So today I really wanted to break down how to brainwash yourself to have the life that you want. This is what I do with my clients. It sounds kind of funny brainwashing them, but I am helping them see where their thoughts are interfering with the life that they want to create for themselves, are interfering with seeing possibility and stretching themselves to the version of themselves that they want to become. So, when you think about your brain, it is a supercomputer. And when you think about a computer, how it works is it has lines of code that tell the computer how to work, what you want the computer to do. For us, if you were to think about our brain as a computer, it would be like having a sentence, a thought that you input into the computer. That is what it's going to tell the rest of your body, the rest of the actions that you take, the feelings that you have in your body. It's going to really inform how that all plays out to give you a result. Because every thought that you have creates a feeling in your body. So that stress that you feel, pressure, anxiety, overwhelm, that is caused by a program, a line of thought happening in your brain that is creating those feelings. And when you have those feelings, you're going to notice yourself doing things and not doing things. You're going to notice yourself procrastinating or taking action. You're going to notice yourself doing busy work or doing the most important prioritized work in your practice. You're going to notice yourself putting off work, or you're going to notice yourself immediately billing for items. That is all caused by a line of code in your brain, how you're thinking. And when you start to recognize the thoughts that you are having and you start to understand the impact that those thoughts have in your brain, you're going to understand not only why you do what you do, but what you need to begin believing in order to change. This is the work that I do with my clients. We're looking for all of those thoughts, blocking them from having the success that they want. So, my job as a coach is really to help you see those, help you see all those lines of code that are running through your brain, and to begin to see the thoughts that are not helping you. Again, it doesn't matter if the thoughts are true or not. A lot of people tell me, but this is the true. It's the truth that I have a million files to do. And it's the truth that, the files never end. Why would you tell yourself that? Why would you keep thinking that thought when it's creating pressure and overwhelm and anxiety? Stop it. those thoughts are not going to help you take action. They're going to put you into paralysis. You will not want to do any work at all. And that is going to prevent you from getting yourself organized, getting your caseload on track. And I see this over and over again. We want to fight for our limitations. We want to fight for those old stories. We want to fight for what we want to put in quotations mark here as the truth. When the reality is, we get to decide how we want to think and how we want to move forward. So I'm going to break this down a little further for you. I've selected 5 thoughts that I've seen recently come up for some of my clients and how we really work together to dissolve those thoughts and to begin helping them move from that belief to a new belief, brainwashing themselves in effect. Now, I wish I could say this was as simple as going into a computer and taking out a line of code and then putting in a new line of code, and then voila, you're suddenly working in the exact primo way that you want to be working. But the truth is you have to be aware of yourself and continually watch your brain. Even my brain does this. I have to watch my brain like a hawk. And I've been at this for years. I will watch my brain want to get distracted, but I've given myself tools over the years. That's one of the reasons why I'm so big on time management, is because the calendar has been the most amazing tool for me to keep refocusing my brain to get work done. And that's what I do in Timepiece. And it's still open right now. So if you haven't joined yet, I highly recommend you jump in right now. By the time you're listening to this, we've only done 1 session. So jump in, because it is something that every single lawyer needs to have in their tool belt, is to understand how to use a calendar and how to use their mind with the calendar. So when you are thinking thoughts like, we're just going to jump into the 5 thoughts. So this is one of the main thoughts I see from my clients is, I have so much to do. That thought, I have so much to do. You've probably had it. I have definitely had it. But when you think it, how do you feel in your body? Overwhelmed, anxiety, maybe helpless, pressure. And all of those feelings that are generated by that thought, that line of code, that story, we're going to use all of those phrases interchangeably. Those feelings are going to create paralysis in your body. You are not going to want to do work. In fact, you'll probably do all of the menial tasks that you can do before actually doing the work that needs to be prioritized. You'll probably watch yourself put off the project you know needs to get done, even though you've known about it for a week, maybe even 2 weeks in advance. And you don't take the time to take a step back, to pause, to review what needs to get done and what needs to be prioritized. Okay, that's how you will know you're having this thought. So it's going to prevent you from getting work done. It's going to prevent you from getting the most important work done. Instead, you are going to be at the mercy of this thought that you have so much to do. But when you know you have the thought, when you can see what you're doing and understand that, yes, oh, this line of code is running my life right now, that's the moment to pause. And the good news is that the feelings of overwhelm, the feelings of pressure, all of those, they're a habit, and habits can be changed. Habits can be modified so that when you have a line of code, a thought, a story running through your head, creating this result of you not getting your work done, it's actually preventing you from getting the work done in a timely manner. And it's preventing you from enjoying your life. And it's creating a lot of unnecessary stress and struggle in your life. So when you begin to have the tools to change the habit, what happens is that you can see that thought, and then you can say, wait a minute, that's just a story. Yeah, you can say it's true. Oh, I have a lot of files in my office. Or you could say, I have 15 files that are in my inbox. Very different story. It's much more specific. I remember I had a client who he and I were talking about his calendar. We were talking about, what he wanted to prioritize, and he was getting into overwhelm. And he said, "Oh my gosh, I just have so much to do." And I said, "Okay, well, let's break it down step by step." And so he began telling me exactly what he needed to do. And I just wrote it down and we went through it. And he had 6 things to do. And when he saw that, he said, "Whoa, my brain is telling me I have so much to do when I have 6 things to do. Those are the 6 things I need to prioritize this week," which seemed much more doable. And when his brain said, "I have 6 things to do," it reacted very differently from the thought, "I have so much to do." So even if you have, quote, "so much to do," and you could even say it's the truth, why would you choose to believe it? Make up a story. Make up a story that works for you. You've got to brainwash yourself. You actually have to be the one in charge of your brain instead of letting your brain run you. You have to be able to say, "Hey, I can handle it. This isn't that much. Like, I can figure this out." Maybe it's something like, "I have so much to do and I can figure it out. I have so much to do and I will get the priorities done." But tell yourself a story that works for you. And what I mean by works for you is that you can sense in your body that you're not feeling pressure. You're not feeling overwhelmed. You're not feeling anxiety. Now it feels like it's doable. You feel calm. If you don't feel calm, you haven't found the thought to brainwash yourself with yet. Now, doing this in a podcast is a little difficult, but this is how you gauge whether or not it's a thought you can believe. Because if you feel calm, then you actually believe the thought. If you don't feel calm, you don't believe it, it's not going to work. You're not going to be able to brainwash yourself with a thought that doesn't work for you. So it's like saying, "Oh, this is so hard," and then trying to brainwash yourself with, "This is easy, this is easy, this is easy." It doesn't work that way. If you believe that it's hard, there's no way your brain's going to go straight to "this is easy." You have to be able to feel in your body that sensation of calm, and it feels certain to you. Yes, 6 items, I can get that done. But if you go with the thought that's creating the anxiety and the stress, and you let that run your life, you will stay in paralysis. You will not create the practice that you want. You will get stuck. And if you're having this problem, join me inside of Timepiece, because we address these kinds of issues inside of Timepiece. We start to recognize what are the thoughts that are really creating problems in your practice, what's creating the anxiety, what's creating the overwhelm, and then let's deconstruct it and let's give you what you need to help you brainwash yourself in a way that is going to be productive for you, that's going to work for you. Because you've got to be able to tell your brain how to be so that you can create the life that you want. No one said this is easy, but it does take that persistency, that consistency. It's really simple in concept, but it takes the nuance and the understanding of yourself to implement it. All right, so let's talk about the second thought I want to address, which is, I can't do X because Y. I can't raise my rates because I'm afraid people will leave. I can't leave the office at 4 p.m. because I'm afraid of what people will think. I can't hit my goals because I have maternity leave coming up at the end of the year. These are all things that I have dealt with my clients. And when they come to any proposition, any problem with the thought, "I can't do X because Y," well, they're already going to set themselves up for not having what they really want. So when you've said that, you've defeated yourself ahead of time. It's that code, that line of programming that's saying, "Nope, can't do it. I cannot do that." And you will end up proving yourself true. You know you're doing this if you shut down new ideas without considering how they might work. You'll also know you're doing this if you feel resentful that you're at the office when you know that there's nothing else that you could possibly do, that you just can't be productive anymore today. You'll know you're doing this if you feel resentful of client work that you're doing because you're not getting paid well for the work that you're completing. You'll know that you're doing this if you make assumptions about what's possible without exploring possibility. So, this is the new thought I want to offer to you. It's that I could do this because fill in the blank. And I want you to come up with reasons. It's possible for me to do this. This is 100% possible for me to do this if I do XYZ. Brainstorm this, think through this. Do not let the thought I can't defeat you. Come back into yourself, come back to what you want, and keep redirecting your brain to what you want. And ask yourself, how could I make this possible? How could this be possible? This is a thing that I do with my clients all the time who want to grow their practices. These are real life examples. Raising their rates. This is a big one. People are really scared that people are going to leave them if they raise their rates. But I want to ask you, when was the last time you raised your rates? Are you covering your expenses? Have your expenses gone up since the last time you raised your rates? Do you believe that if you raised your rates, that you could just go back, right? If people said no and they left, you could just go back and go to the old rates because you could do that. But if you don't open your mind to possibility, you'll never try it and you'll never know what's possible for yourself. That's what I want to offer to you here. Stop thinking that you can't, start believing that you can, and asking yourself how it could be possible. The third phrase that I want to talk to you about is in relation to employees. So if you have an assistant or you have an associate, listen up. Okay, this is what I'll often hear from a lawyer. They'll say, my assistant doesn't know what they're doing, so I can't rely on them. Let me say that again. They don't know what they're doing, so I can't rely on them. Well, when you say that out loud, how do you feel in your body? I can't rely on them. So I can't give them anything. Well, you probably feel helpless, frustrated, or annoyed, maybe even a little angry. And you'll know that you're having this thought if you don't delegate to them, you don't think about what training they might need, you don't think about the next steps you need to be taking with them, whether it's improved trainings or whether it's maybe letting them go. You avoid them, you avoid conversations. You've been meaning to have a meeting with them, but you keep putting it off. Well, that line of code is what is preventing you from creating the practice that you want. It's blocking you from creating a solution. So, this is the new line of thought I want to offer to you. And this is one that really helped one of my clients recently. I create good employees. I create good employees. It's empowering. It is taking 100% responsibility for your practice, and it puts you in the driver's seat, right? You get to be in charge of your practice. You get to think about what could be helpful. You get to have these conversations. You get to make this decision. So, how might this particular thought that I just said, I create good employees, be true? Think about it. Ask yourself this. How might it be true that you create good employees? You need to brainwash yourself to get the result that you want. You've got to think about this. If I am in charge of creating good employees, that means I am in charge of diagnosing problems. I am in charge of creating solutions. I am in charge of having conversations, getting curious, asking them questions, finding out, getting to the bottom of what's going on, thinking up unique solutions to unique problems. That puts me in the driver's seat. So that's really good news. If you're having the thought, I can't rely on my employee, and you feel helpless, take that back. Brainwash yourself. I create good employees. I love this thought. I think it's one that really helps strengthen your ability to problem solve, and it allows you to take action in ways that maybe you never expected yourself that you could before. The next phrase that I want to share with you is a thought that one of my clients had, which is, I don't have enough work. And I don't have enough work makes you feel powerless, helpless, and worried. Because where's the work coming from? Right. So, this is how you know you're having this thought. You don't want to work. It's a very demotivating thought. You likely buffer with numbing out activities like eating. Maybe you're getting up for extra cups of coffee. Maybe you notice yourself wanting to scroll more on the internet. You do menial tasks instead of the most important tasks. You don't appreciate the work that you do have. So you don't give yourself credit for bringing in new work. You don't celebrate new work. You aren't paying attention to all the new work that's coming in, right? Even if work hasn't come in for a while, you don't have to tell yourself that story. Like, don't tell yourself those kinds of stories. Remember, you got to brainwash yourself for the life you want. You got to say, okay, what were the last works? What was the last work that came in? All right. That was fabulous. How did I do that? I created that. What were the steps that created that? Even if it was a referral, how did I get that referral? Oh, I did really great work for people. I went to a networking event. I followed up in an email. Whatever it is that you are doing that creates work, you want to celebrate it. You want to acknowledge it. You want to be able to say, yes, this is how I create work. And that leads me into the thought that I want you to brainwash yourself with, which is, I create work. Tell yourself this and ask yourself, how do I know this is true? You make phone calls, you send emails, you go to networking events, you complete the work that you do have. And when you complete that work, then that produces new work. How often do you have an assignment that once it's done and you get paid for it, you also have additional work that comes from that, whether it is from a referral or whether or not your client is saying, oh, I need something else done? Like, make sure that you are completing your work so that you can see and acknowledge that this is how I create new work. You maybe do something new, you do podcasts, you do social media, whatever it is, remind yourself that you create work. And then you will feel more inspired to do so. It's not that you are at the mercy of this hope that maybe work will come in. No, you go out and you create the work. You go out and you create value. You go to networking events, you go to conferences, you go to meetings, whatever it is you need to do. But when you put yourself in the driver's seat, that is when things change in your business. So that all starts with how you are thinking. That's your mindset. It's the story that you're telling yourself. It's the thoughts that you allow in your brain, the thoughts that you catch and that you redirect. Catch and redirect. You catch your brain saying something like, I don't know where the work's coming. I don't have enough work. You've got to redirect it and say, I create the work. Wait a minute. I'm responsible, right? I can do this. And you're not telling yourself I'm responsible and saying like, oh my gosh, I got to do this. There's so much pressure, because you won't do it. It's just, hey, I create work, and know that you have the power to create that work. All right, let's look at thought number 5 I want to share with you. This is the final one, and it is a doozy. And I hear just about every lawyer I've ever talked to has said this to me at some point. And that is, I don't know. I don't know what to do next. I don't know where to start. I don't know what's causing the problem. And that's fine. Initially, you could say, I don't know. But a lot of people stop at I don't know, as if that's going to solve the problem, as if that's the answer. It's just an unknowable fact in the universe, but it is 100% knowable. So, how do you know if you do this? Well, first of all, you'll notice that you feel confused, overwhelmed, maybe even dread. You'll feel paralyzed at your desk. You won't want to do anything. You will spend lots of time doing busy work. You may find yourself rushing to meet deadlines when you knew they were coming up, but you just hadn't planned ahead. You might even find yourself beating yourself up for not planning ahead. And you'll also notice that you might wait for the quote unquote right answer. So that means there's a little bit of a perfectionist in there, right? There's a fear that you might make the wrong choice. And so you keep waiting and waiting, hoping that there's going to be an answer for you that just comes out of thin air, and it will just, here's the answer. We don't want to do that. You want to be in the driver's seat. So, this is how you brainwash yourself and get out of this I don't know habit. Because all of these thoughts that I'm talking about, they're just habits, habits of belief, habits of thought. And when you begin to notice them, you can begin to say, oh, this thought is not working for me. And I need to begin to take charge of my brain and switch it up. So if you're thinking, I don't know, I want to offer to you that you ask yourself a question. Well, what if I did know? What might be my answer? And let yourself sit there and think because you're going to get answers. Just what's your best guess? Every single time I ask my client this, it's just what's your best guess? They come up with an answer and it's spot on because you know the answer better than anyone else in your world. But you got to ask yourself the right questions. And if you ask yourself that question, well, what's my best guess? You're going to get an answer and you go from there. And then it's trial and error. That is going to put you in the driver's seat. That is going to empower you to then take the next step, whatever it is, whether it's deciding what you're going to do next at your desk because you're trying to figure out what's the next project you want to tackle, whether it is thinking through a personnel decision or you're thinking about what you're going to say in a partner meeting, doesn't matter. But you've got to ask yourself these questions. Like, what if I did know? Don't let your brain stop at I don't know. Always ask the next question, which is, well, if I had to guess, what would I say? So these are the phrases I want you to eliminate from your vocabulary. Starting today, just start noticing them. I think you're going to be surprised that you're going to notice them more than ever before because this just never occurred to you that these thoughts were actually causing so many problems in your law practice. The first one is I have so much to do. That is right up there with telling yourself, I'm so busy. This is so hard. I'm never going to get this done. I'm behind. All of those thoughts. They're non starters for me. I don't use them anymore. I used to a lot. I don't anymore. And I notice a massive difference in my life. I feel so much calmer. I feel so much more peaceful. I get so much more accomplished in my business because I no longer have those thoughts. The next thought I want to offer to you that you remove completely is I can't. I can't do X because. Always, always, always ask yourself if you want it, how am I going to do this? How can I create this? Right? I could do this if. This is 100% possible if. The next phrase we talked about was thinking about your assistant or your associate and telling yourself that they don't know what they're doing, so you can't rely on them. And instead, I want to offer to you that you remember that you create good employees. Fourth, the thought that I had here was I don't have enough work. That thought is not going to help you produce work. It's not going to help you get things done. So the thought I want to offer to you that's much more empowering is that I create work. Fifth, the thought, I don't know. We want to remove that from the vocabulary, or at least if you notice yourself saying it, you say to yourself, okay, what if I did know? What's my best guess? What would I say? And then you'll have some answers for yourself. All right, my friend, I hope that you take this to heart and you take this into your day to day and you begin eliminating these phrases and you begin telling yourself the story of what you do want, what you do have control over, what you are creating. You create good employees, you create work, right? You're the one who is in charge of your life. And if you want help beginning to systematically rewrite how you are telling the story of your practice so that you can grow your practice, so that you can have a life, so that you can enjoy time with your family, enjoy time with yourself, take up those hobbies that you forgot that you loved so much. I want to invite you to a strategy session. You can book a call with me at dinacataldo.com/strategy session. We will talk about what it would look like to work together to help you create exactly what it is that you want. All right, my friend, I hope you have a fabulous rest of your day. I will talk to you soon. Bye.